Coach Vigen, that second half, the way that started out, you got the touchdown right before halftime, and now got a 3 and out, and those guys got a field goal, and that kind of got things going in the second half.
Yeah, and it started with the kick cover. I think Mason Death made a really good play to set the tone. We got the 3 and out. We got another score on the board. You know, it was one of those games where, you know, doing the things we preach, taking the ball away, not turning it over. We knew that was going to be big. Having an edge in special teams, I think we did that. I think we were better on third down, and that takes the whole team to be able to do that. And how we came out of that, how we finished the half and how we came out in the second half was a real team effort.
And the last time anyone scored on your defense in the third quarter was August 30th. What does that say about your defense and your post-halftime?
Yeah, I think our coaches do a good job of probably not overdoing it, but getting some things corrected. And then, you know, I think our guys understand how important, you know, that stretch of the game is. You know, winning the middle 8 is about finishing strong in the second quarter, and then, you know, going out and, you know, either setting the tone or whatever, whether it's offense, defense in that third quarter. So that's pretty remarkable, honestly. But I think it does speak to our group that is willing to be coached. And it's not, again, that we're making crazy adjustments, but we're doing a good job at halftime, and the guys are taking it.
Talk about Kaden Dollar's performance tonight.
Yeah, you know, can't say enough about, you know, what he's been able to do this season. I know, you know, the flash has been the last couple of weeks with the turnovers, the takeaways, but he's been, you know, so good for us all season. And, you know, interception return like that in the moment that it was, you know, those types of plays are all, you never forget them. You know, it's one thing to make the interception, but the return was phenomenal, and, you know, I'm sure some guys really chipped in to free him up, and, you know, obviously a huge momentum at that point in time to go up 17.
Just being able to rebound from so many things early, you know, kind of some adversity, just plays things didn't go your way. How what do you think was most key to being able to do that?
Well, I think it was, you know, it was good for us to get challenged tonight, and that's a team that we knew would challenge us. And saying that, it was going to be really hard to tackle Pinnock. It was, and you know, they do things on defense. It wasn't. We were just going to run through them. So you got that sense you're playing a good team. You know, it's not going to always go your way. How do you respond? I think this team has really done a good job of that all year long, and you know, tonight it's maybe on a little bit more display against a opponent like that. But I think that's been who we've been all season.
And then Neil and Xavier both had deflections that would have stops would have been big plays. Did you think those plays were pretty big in the moment?
Yeah, you know, there's a number of plays in that game, but yeah, getting the hands on a couple of those passes. If we don't, those are probably big plays. So, you know, they do a really good job of putting you in a run-pass conflict, linebackers in particular, and you know, that it takes athleticism to recover and make a couple of those plays like those guys did. You know, his ability to scramble after he didn't throw it a few times is because we were taking the throw away. So there was certainly a give and take, but you know, I think our athleticism, our linebackers, certainly showed up tonight.
Tonight was senior night. A lot of seniors played so well. Kenny, Chris, Julia. Just what can you say about that group?
Yeah, it's small in number, but you know, really big in contribution for sure. And you know, you need a senior group to be at their best, especially down the stretch, but really over the course of the season. And again, it's a small group in number, but boy, the way that they're playing and the way they're pouring into this season, you know, speaks volumes of who they are, because it's a mix of guys. There's just a small number of guys that have been here since 21. There's a bunch of transfers in that group, but you know, doing everything they can for this particular team is what they're about.
Kenny got home a couple times, and you guys got home multiple times. It gets the quarterback that mobile. So what can you say about that element of the game?
Well, I feel really good about. We feel really good about our D-line against anybody, and you throw in the element of how elusive he was. We just had to keep going. You know, the number of times it seemed like he he got out of our grasp was way more than we'd wanted. But to get home and to hit him and make him feel us over and over again is what we've been about. So I thought our pressure was there. Our completion of that pressure wasn't maybe to the level we'd want, but we were getting pressure on him with that front for the most part.
People talk about Justin being so, fiery and competitive, but he also seems to have kind of a steady, consistent, about him. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, he's ultra competitive. And I think he understands the position he plays too. So wearing that at times, that competitive nature and being outward is certainly, there's moments for that. And I think he understands that, the guys are still going to look to him. So, becoming calm in the moment and moving forward is a big piece to, what he's got to display for his teammates. So, I really appreciate who he is and what he's about, and he's fit in so well. And it's certainly his ability, his running ability, but it's more just his fire and his leadership. And I think our guys certainly have been rallying around him all season.
Time of possession was pretty heavily in favor of Davis. I guess how do you feel like you guys handle short fields, and I guess defense also handled just beyond.
Yeah. There's contributing factors. It's Jabez's return that creates a short field. We did have a couple 3-and-outs, I believe. Certainly Kaden's interception for a touchdown. It seemed like we scored a bunch in the third quarter, but they had the ball most of it in part because of that play. And then the short field on his next interception. So, we'll take it, score however we get it. We'll take the field position over and over again to be on the right side, and that's defense setting up offense. It's special teams setting up offense. It's the offense, our offense, not putting our defense in bad positions. That's the formula, and I think overall we execute that pretty well tonight.
How have you seen this team come together since week 2?
Well, thinking back to that night, awfully disappointed, but I think I said it in here. I mean, that game didn't define us, nor did it end anything for us. It was really, in a lot of ways, it was probably the beginning. I think a team that was really disappointed that night, and just so the answer to disappointment is to go back to work and try to get better each and every week. And I think we've done that, regardless of who we played, where we've played, and tonight was another, I think, step in that direction.
When they cut it to 14 and then you had the nice drive to sort of seal it, and Justin has the sort of exclamation point, or the keys to that, and what do you think of just his ability to sort of close it?
Yeah, Justin's runs are a product of them overcommitting to the tailback runs. So really good job, Coach Sturbeck, of being able to mix those in. And yeah, it's what we needed. We did not need to punt to them again. Last year, whatever the score was, it seemed really similar. We didn't close the game out on offense. We had to punt it to them, and then bam, they hit a couple plays, onside kick. I mean, it was timing-wise, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but they were a team that you knew wasn't going to go away unless we put them away. And offensively, credit to our players and our coaches for doing that.
Coach, throughout the year, more and more eligibles have stepped up on the offense. How special do you think it was for Chris to get into the end zone on senior night? Yeah,
that was big. It's surprising it's taken this long. I know we missed a couple games early. Pretty electrifying play. And what I appreciate about him, Ryan, why do they come here? It's opportunity, it's touches, it's all that, but they soon becomes about much more than that. And I know Chris being hurt early in the season, it was not the way it was supposed to be scripted, and he had some struggles maybe coming back, but I think he's been really steady now, 3-4 weeks now, and that's what we need. He's got pretty electric ability, and it was great that it showed up in that particular play.
They got the long screen when you guys rushed 7 early, and then had the touchdown, obviously, with the guy wide open.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys kind of respond? Any adjustments you had to make?
Yeah, the previous series we showed heavy pressure. They went to the screen, we knocked it down. So they did go back to it. Good for them. They made a play. They hit the tight end down the seam, I guess. They went back to it later. we got pressure on because he was open again. But I think that was obviously a real key piece to adjusting at halftime was, you know, we got to make sure that doesn't happen to us again. And I know they went after it again and it didn't happen. So I think it's just that mindset of, you know, teams are going to make some plays. Good teams are going to make some plays. We are not always going to be perfect. You know, they really, again, they really put you in a run pass conflict that's really challenging. And with a quarterback, that dynamic, that's an added layer. So, you know, to give up a little and to bounce back and really keep them at 7 for quite a while, I was really impressive for our defense.
Coach, I know you already touched on Kaden, but with what he's been through in his career already, and he's still got a ways to go, but he's really stepped up as far, I mean, the difficulty of his injuries and then seeing what he's done this year. What does that do for you as the head coach and as for the rest of this team, seeing somebody like that step up through all those injuries and struggles and all that?
Well, you knew the talent and the desire was always there, the smarts, the instincts, and he played a little bit, and then, you know, the previous 2 seasons got cut short, and you just hope for him that you know, it would work out, and at this point it has. And you know, you go back to 23, he went down early that season, and he was an inspiration that year as a young player. So, you know, those two brothers are different, but I think what's clear is they're competitive. They're great teammates. They're going to work their tail off, and you know, for Kaden to have this success, you know, he's a captain. He's a captain because he's an easy guy to root for. He hadn't played much in his own mind. I think he was like, why am I a captain? Well, it's because of who you are and all you've done besides the games. And now to have the games along with it and the performance is awesome.
Big Sky title game next week, so just early thoughts on going to Missoula.
Yeah, I think we've done this now 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
You know, to have everything on the line the last game, and what we need to make it about is winning a game. You know, and that's going to be complicated. And you know, but positioning ourselves at this point, it's where we want to be. And you know, obviously they haven't lost this year, so you know, we're going to have to dive deep into doing everything we can to defend them, to find ways to score, combat everything that you know, the rivalry and everything's about. So really looking forward to it, and just thankful we're in this position.